I will actually put this over here and you've got some of the board packet information here too, if you need to.
Did you get that?
So we are good to go, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, meeting of the Lakeview Downtown Development Authority called to order. And I have a motion to approve the minutes from May 4th.
So
Unless
moved.
there are corrections. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion's carried. The financials are up on the screen,
Yeah,
or we can.
Courtney, I can walk them through this real quick and you can maybe fill in anywhere that we say something wrong. Okay, so what you're looking at here, what we've got up on the screen right now is our preliminary year end for fiscal year 22, which ends on June 30th of 23. So we're on July 1st to June 30th fiscal year. This is our year report, but no, that really probably is relevant for our conversation is this third to the last column right here. This one, the year-to-date transactions. And if you compare this one, which is our actuals essentially to our amended budget, that's where you can see kind of how we performed relative to what we expected for the year. So you can see, just a slight bit more in terms of property tax revenue than we had in our amended budget. Not too much of a fluctuation there, but a little bit. You can see it was kind of a brutal year in terms of investment income.
Yeah.
So that was a
Oh,
little unanticipated right there, but that was kind of across the board, wasn't it, Courtney? It was just that kind of year.
Yeah, tell me
And
about it.
this 25,000 that you see right here, it's unbudgeted, but that's the lease income from the billboard that I was saying, that we collected, the intent was to collect and use along the corridor somewhere. Even though it's not necessarily captured revenue or property tax revenue. So you can see revenues, but again, pretty much in line with what had been projected at the beginning of the year. And then if you look at our expenses, of course, as everybody knows here, we have a little bit of administrative expense. And then everything else is generally passed through to the taxing jurisdictions. So you can see here, kind of outside government entities, and then the city of Battle Creek. So once again, expenses were, pretty much in line with was anticipated in the budget, although at the end of the year, if I scroll down here a little bit, I think we ended up to the good about $16,000, it looks like here. So I don't know, Courtney, anything to add to that for the fiscal year end?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think we're in the middle of an audit right now. And so I don't think we'll ask the board for any particular action on these financials at this point. At some point, obviously, we'll bring the audited financials back for board approval. And we'll usually do that at our April meeting.
Right.
So those are our preliminary year ends. And then if you scroll down to the next page, this is just our essentially our first quarter financials for the fiscal year. So this is through the end of September, as you can see here. And some of the property tax income that is still, actually that number is because this would be just probably the sum of the parts.
Yep.
Taxes.
And then as far as like investment, that's probably not recorded yet.
Yeah, only looks like a little bit.
Yeah. Maybe July.
Yeah, not a lot we can tell from just the first quarter of the year. Let's see what we've got. A portion of that pass through backs to the taxing jurisdictions. So, again, we can scroll down and look at the bottom line right now, but that's.
Yeah.
Once again, I'm not sure there's a lot of value in any formal action on the interim financials. But Courtney's here, I'm here. Any questions you have about either the preliminary year end or the interim, we can try to answer.
Anybody have questions? Okay. I don't hear any.
Just a quick, you said government transfer, that is to KCC and to.
Yeah,
what
so
else?
we've got various taxing jurisdictions that are being captured. Looks back. So, Courtney, do you remember off the top of your head? It's probably the county. Probably
There's county,
KCC,
KCC, Lakeview.
right? certainly the city of Battle Creek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're the largest
Yeah.
bulk of it.
Okay.
I'm not sure who else is there.
Sorry, don't have it in front of me, but
Yeah, well, we can
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that's just, I was curious.
Okay, let's move on to the project updates.
Okay, and so, I'll skip ahead in your packet real quick. The last 2 pages.
Yep.
This map that you see. You may recall we're using some of that billboard lease to make a few improvements along the corridor. We discussed this a couple of meetings ago. Some of it's along the linear side. You can see kind of a map of everything that's going on there with the sign. And then the last page, we talked about this time, the cemetery as well. So we still have some more work to do there, as you can imagine, like with everything. Costs are coming in much better than we had originally anticipated. But that lease payment usually comes in August, so we've got an additional 25,000 to work with. That we weren't necessarily factoring into cost of these projects, so we should be able to cover that was we originally intended to do. So we're going to just keep looking for little projects that we can do to do something for a little bit with that rent money.
One suggestion I would have, because I've had comments made to me, is that we do weed control on some kind of a set schedule, which means I call it spraying Roundup, because that's what I use around my place. No matter what the TV ads are about. And actually, I have no idea if there's any way to squeeze it in to go all the way down Capitol Avenue. Okay. And I have to admit, they have a good point. They say, when I bring somebody into town and we're buzzing down Capitol Avenue to come downtown, it looks like a dump. And that's bad image.
Yeah, we did some weed control in Old Lakeview a couple of years ago. It's time to do it again. And it did really kind of clean it up nicely. So
Well, and I think if you're gonna spray for like with Roundup, I don't know, I assume they can put a tank on the pickup truck that somebody can pull on. You'd have to do like I do, or at least when I had business property. We did it on a regular schedule. April 15th, May 15th, June 15th, and then after that, you can usually start to spread it out. Maybe August 15th is the last time.
Yeah.
And that keeps me, because you got to get them when they're little. I mean, once they get big, then you spray them, you kill them, and they stand around for a long time before they finally keel over. And that looks ratty too. So, you want to get them when they're an inch up.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk to our guys about
Okay.
maybe a program.
And that's what I was thinking. It can't be that expensive, and it can come out of that 25,000.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good use.
And all along Beckley Road there. Some of the places seem to keep the sidewalk parts, like in front of the bank. What is that? Southern Michigan, that area. That seems to be pretty good. I don't know about Garvey's properties.
I think if there's maybe a challenging area, it might be right there.
Well, on the hotel or the hotel side, some of that area, they don't do a real good job. They have picked up a little bit on this.
We'll look into it.
Yeah. Anyway, I've had a few people. Mainly because my wife's a gardener and we hang around a lot of gardeners and they don't like weeds. And anyway, I always like to make my city look nice.
It's just an observation and just suggestion on this map, Whitmark Drive. Just some background on that road, when that first plotted out there, it literally was named Kim Sigler Drive because that area out there, from a history standpoint, that's where he crashed and died out there. And it was named Kim Sigler. Well, when that Whitmark store came in, somehow that road got changed to Whitmark Drive. And it's not there anymore. I'm just thinking maybe we could change that back to Kim Sigler Drive in honor of the governor. I don't know how they ever got it changed to that, and it's on maps and stuff now, but that was just something. And they had that store, and that store is now the gym back there, that Planet Fitness or whatever, Blue Moon. That was Whitmark, and they somehow got that street named Whitmark Drive for their own benefit. And that was just, I think about it every time I drive by that, and it was like, you know, that's like,
Should I get into that one?
they'll just take a look at that and see what, 'cause the old maps, I've seen the old original maps. It was Kim Sigler.
What are they thinking about for the boardwalk? Cause it's a slippery when wet, which I will vouch for.
You know, yeah.
Watch yourself when you're riding your bike on it.
Yeah.
I'll tell
You know,
that much.
and we have some treatment, like, you know, another problem, another area we have a lot of problem with that is a long way in the drive headed out towards Bailey Park.
Oh, yeah, that's got that. Yeah, I've wiped out on that.
I've slipped on that a few times. And we've got a treatment that they have used in that area that I think was pretty effective. I can ask Tom about that. Because, yeah, I think
Mhm. It's gonna get wet tonight and tomorrow.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was a treatment for all that.
yeah, they do
Huh.
have little surface treatment that they put down to make that less slippery. I think it worked pretty well. We'll look into that too. Anything more on site improvements? And again, I'm, you know, just, you give me off ideas at any point, anytime.
Yeah, just-
Got a feel for something that makes sense to explore. Capitol Avenue Bridge replacement, not a lot new, it's not new at this point. Originally, when MDOT approached us on this project, you know, they asked us about, you know, a complete closure of the bridge versus keeping it partially open. And obviously, you know, our immediate response, particularly from our emergency services, was like, oh, no, do not close the bridge. Keep at least one lane open. And so we started to head down that path. With Transit wanted to do it that way. DPW wanted to do it that way. And then as they began bidding the project, they had a particular contractor who submitted a bid in a specific way of doing the project in which they requested, you know, closing it completely, but in return for closing it completely, they said, hey, we'll do the entire project in this very tight, like 74-day window, which was different than like, you know, leaving it open and having it be a 6 to 8 month project. I mean, it was a significant difference in timing. So we kind of had some negotiations back and forth with them. Eventually, we did say, okay, if you really can do it that quickly, then that might be worth it.
Yeah, I
now
would think so.
It wasn't a given that they would select that particular contractor. But if they did select that particular contractor, then that would be a possibility. So that's just mostly a heads up that, you know, it could end up being a project where we close Capitol.
So this would,
Entirely.
in theory, start when?
Yeah, that's still not firm at this point. You know, at one point I thought for sure it was spring of 2023, you know, 6 months from now, essentially. But then I started to hear maybe 24 and then maybe 23 or 24. So I just don't have a good firm grasp on that. What I do know is that they're expected to do some public meetings here pretty soon. So
What would the detour be if that was closed there?
My guess would be
Riverside
all
and
the way down
Helmer.
to Helmer or all the way down to Riverside.
I'm thinking like it's gonna really affect like Hamilton and Wawatasi. You know,
Yeah.
that's gonna be,
I mean, that's my path and to go golfing. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll come
Yeah.
in that way and head north.
So I don't know exactly. I obviously will see those details as this develops, but those, you know, we'll have to divert transit through those neighborhoods, which is always a
Yeah.
challenge. But it might, like you said, it might be worth it if they could actually finish it in this very condensed
Mhm.
time frame.
Yeah, that would be, because originally,
So more to come on that. Again, we don't have a lot of updates right now, but again, we're anticipating some public meetings fairly shortly. And speaking of public meetings, that kind of segues into this next item on our agenda here too. I'm gonna scroll this back up.
I haven't seen the whole thing, but the roundabouts in the picture on this.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm just,
Yeah, no,
it's kind of like a sprinkle road. There's two of them there. It's kind of,
yeah, no,
it seems like they're going up all over I-94,
yeah, we sure have not heard anything about a gap roundabout here.
you know?
So I'm not anticipating that. The other thing that's going on is that the MDOT is doing what they call one of their Pell analyses. They're planning an environmental linkage studies along the highway. So basically from, well, you can see it kind of over here from the highway at 95th Avenue, right where you come into downtown Battle Creek. And you know, and probably the easiest place to see it, my thing's blocking a little bit, is over here on the map right here. And you can see that area right there kind of shows you. Sorry, this guy here is in the way. Let me move him over. So you can see it kind of stretches from Hamlin Avenue downtown out to the highway right here. And essentially what this is all about, I mean, they're essentially, you know, saying if this was being built today with current traffic conditions and everything else going on, what would it look like? So, you know, they're open to the idea of, you know, right now it's kind of a limited access highway, and they're open to the idea of neighborhood connections or, you know, all at grade crossings and other things that happen. They're essentially opening it up and saying, you know, what should it be? And this is anticipation of at some point they know they need to do to be built. So there's just a little bit of information in here. It's kind of a lengthy engagement process that includes a whole bunch of analysis. There's a local LAC that I sit down with some other folks to try to provide feedback. And then, as you can see from here too, it says, you know, scoped for 3 community conversations. So there'll be a, you know, broader public dialogue. The notion what it could be or should be going forward as well.
So this is being prompted by MDOT.
I am.
Okay, so it's not, the community hasn't reached out to say we would like to improve something. They're saying, hey, what would we look like if we were to do it today? Because this is something that they're going to be addressing at some point in time.
That's exactly.
I mean, I guess
Yeah.
it's forward thinking, that's.
Yeah. And we don't even have a timeline for that. It could be, you know, 26, could be 27, could be 28. We don't know for sure. But to their credit, like you said, you know, they're saying, hey, okay, then we'll go through a study process and we'll have a conversation about what if any changes need to be made. And maybe, you know, ultimately we'll land on, then I just leave it like it is.
Yeah,
You know,
they were saying within 10 years or so.
Yeah.
If,
Yeah, I mean, other than it all needs to probably be totally
Yeah.
repaired. I mean, I don't know what that means. I'm not an engineer, but I assume you need to tear up road and put down fresh.
and you're right. That's exactly what they're thinking, is that eventually we're gonna have to do that. So if we're gonna have to do that, then what should we do different?
Now, I know what I'd tell them, at least all that green area that we have, I would like to see some kind of planting. But I don't know, do they maintain that kind of stuff?
Well, you know. Yeah,
That's the
we
big
do get
thing.
a fair amount of complaints about that stretch, right? So it's MDOT's jurisdiction. They contract with the county to maintain it.
Okay,
And it's, you know, it's not, sometimes it doesn't look like it's good.
well, I'm not, I think they cut the grass and all that fine, but I'm thinking, you know, make it more interesting when you're driving down there, because there again, it's a shot to our downtown. I
Yeah,
mean,
but,
it's
you know-
one of the 3, well, really, 2 main roads to downtown,
Yeah.
Riverside. Yeah, I guess
It would
it's,
be really interesting to hear what people think about that. You know, it would be hard to me, in my mind, you guys might think differently. It would be hard to imagine linkages from the west side, those neighborhoods that are actually in the city of Battle Creek, that are west of, you know, Division, or it's actually Sojourner Truth Memorial Parkway, although everybody calls it the Penetrator.
The penetrator, yeah.
But east of that, I can see where, you know, folks out in the township would like that connection. So, yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where people land on this.
Yeah, so I mean. Yeah, I don't know what,
On the west side, north of Columbia, it's all the way got the golf course and then pretty much just swamp all the way to. You know,
yeah, on the west side.
on the west side, so there's not much, but on the east side it goes
Well,
into,
there's not much on the east side except when you get down closer to I-94.
you know. I could think, you know, that, I mean, like access to like Beachfield Drive. You know, that's like that comes all the way to there or something,
That's the neighborhood.
yeah.
Yeah, so just a heads up that those conversations are getting underway. We have a regular cadence of meetings over the next couple of months. Not exactly sure when the public engagement process is gonna begin, but it's coming over the next few months.
Yeah, that's,
Any other comments? Suggestions?
this is interesting.
So, Mr. Chairman, we need to do public comment.
How do we do
Yeah, that's a good
In
question.
today's world?
So even though we are live streaming, and in order to provide public comment in a meeting like this, you actually have to be here in person. So,
Oh.
It doesn't appear that we have anybody.
Okay.
Courtney, unless you want to make some public comment. So I don't think that we'll need, so we'll have.
We can skip public comments then. Any board member comments? Or desires or wishes or whatever?
So is on the bridge, is that, I remember we talked about they're gonna put Battle Creek on it, like they did. I don't know if you've seen like Michigan City is really cool.
Yes.
They've got that. And
So we're talking about doing that on the Capitol Avenue Bridge and on the Columbia Avenue Bridge on 66.
okay, yeah, it'd be nice to have that identification.
It does look nice, I have to admit,
It's a nice
Michigan
logo.
City, I mean. And they got those 4 big flag poles up.
Definitely attracts your attention.
Yeah, attracts your attention.
I saw Horrocks. Their sign was going up. They just only put the HORR. I thought they should at least finish it. So is there an anticipated?
Yeah, so it's interesting. And you can see some of the infrastructure
Yeah.
over there, greenhouses and other things in the parking area there. Yeah, we had a conversation one not too long ago because we had another project that was interested in a portion of their property downtown where they keep their landscaping materials there,
Right.
kind of on that separate parcel.
Yeah.
And there was some indication in that conversation, they thought they might even be ready to go by the end of the year, but that's pretty hard to see at this point. So maybe in the spring.
Okay.
Yeah.
It looked like their trail was cut inside. I didn't go up to the store. I went to Dunham's real quick and then
Yeah.
I just kind of glanced over there, but the storage place has been doing okay.
Search place has been doing okay. We've had a couple of conversations with the folks at Sears about what would happen with that property. We even actually made an offer to them. But they weren't prepared to move on that. Mostly we just thought it might be to our benefit to control it. Because we're not seeing a lot happen out there. But that, of course, we did not move forward, so we're just watching the situation.
I can tell you from our lens, the retail has still been strong. We had some space that came available through where Raymond James was, but we have some folks that I think we'll probably sign a lease with that will backfill a portion of it, and then some others that have shown some interest, but there really hasn't been a ton of retail space, the small retail space, anywhere from 1,000 to 3,000 or 4,000 square feet that's really jumped out for folks. So they're all rented, which has been, at least our experience has been pretty solid.
Good.
So could that Sears store be subdivided?
Yeah, I
into
think,
a bunch of little units.
Yeah, I think, yeah, it's possible, I mean, can you get a conglomerate?
Well, I know you can do
Yeah, it's
anything, but
just,
is it?
yeah, I mean, it'd be harder, to assemble, to manage, but But, I'm sure someone's gonna be out there. I'm sure someone's been, sniffing around as well too. It's just, I think it's the right place, the right time for somebody.
Yeah, and who knows what the Horrocks effect will be,
Yeah.
if you start driving some foot traffic back out there again.
Yeah, I think Horrocks' addition to that area, although a blow to what was existing location, because I think it did bring folks downtown. Is going to enhance, that Beckley corridor and that mall area, because
Well, it's gonna be a destination because you can see it from the highway and that's, I think people will come for that, Battle Creek. That's,
Well, they have some idea because they're on a highway up in Lansing.
And obviously they kind of like that environment. They want to leverage that type of an environment. So,
there was talk about putting an entrance off 66 in there. That's still being discussed.
I can't stand that.
That was a thought that somebody had is to keep turning into
I
the,
can't imagine
I
them.
can't see.
yeah, if there was a deceleration lane that was long enough, maybe, but.
I don't think you can get it.
Close to a
It's
light.
pretty short to get a de-acceleration lane. Off of 60s. I don't think there's enough there because you got ramp traffic coming in.
Yeah,
yeah.
And so, I can't imagine it. There's plenty. Like go down to the light.
yeah,
It's not like they're having to walk an extra, they're driving.
Yeah.
Okay, so they gotta walk or drive an extra quarter mile. Not a big deal.
don't have anything else on my end.
But retail has been holding up or
Yeah.
coming back some anyway, or,
We haven't lost retail. I mean.
okay,
Retail has always been strong, even we've had a little bit of a blow with restaurants and some retail in the beginning, but I think through communal support, and people just actually, shopping, local, as well too, has really helped. And I think once people started, restrictions were
Lifted
loosened
or-
and we're actually we cut ties from that. I think they just flourished, so that's what we've seen.
cool.
So
See the Don Pablo's pot shop.
I saw that.
Yes,
Yeah, we
yesterday.
needed,
Another. pot
we
shop.
needed another one. Yeah.
that would be a big one too. So that's a lot of square footage. That type of use, but
There's a few around Battle Creek, but Emmett seems to be there's like 40 of them in Emmett Township.
there are a lot of licenses in this area. No doubt
Yeah.
about it.
There's gonna be a lot going out of business. too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think cannabis has been, saturated right now in certain areas and I'm sure some will come together and some will falter. And so,
Right there, but the next step in the
yeah,
evolution of this is consolidation. So
It'll be a conglomerate that'll buy them all up.
even those
Like everything
big
else.
conglomerates are hurting stock wise. I mean, I've watched them, because I knew someone who was in it. I watched, he was shaken as a landlord, like, are they gonna stay? I said, I have no idea. And then, but I started looking at some of the stock and some of these, and they haven't been going up, they've been going down. These are pretty good companies.
Yeah.
So, but at some point it's gonna change.
It's interesting, my investment advisor, I asked about that. They're prohibited yet from
Oh, from doing transactions. Wow.
equity and stuff like that. So they haven't quite figured it out yet. And so they're barred from selling equity and stuff. So
Okay,
well, I have nothing else, Mr. Chairman.
then do I have a motion for adjournment?
second,
All in favor signify by saying aye.
aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. Meeting is adjourned,
Thank you, everyone, and we will see you
April 25.